Two police officers lay buried alive beneath the frozen ground, their mouths taped, their bodies going numb. No one knew where they were. No rescue was coming. Above them, the snow kept falling, erasing every trace of what had happened. They had maybe 30 minutes left to live. Then a 7-year-old girl appeared in the forest. She wasn't supposed to be there. Neither was the military dog walking beside her. What happened next would shock an entire nation and prove that sometimes the smallest heroes carry the biggest courage. Before we begin, hit subscribe and stay until the end. Drop your city in the comments. I want to see how far this story travels. Shadow stop. Maya Brennan's voice cracked in the cold air, but the dog didn't listen. He never listened when he got like this. His ears were pinned forward, his body low, his muscles coiled tight. He wasn't walking anymore. He was hunting. Maya had seen this behavior before. Once when a stranger had approached her grandmother's house too quickly. Another time when a fire started in the neighbor's garage before anyone smelled smoke. Shadow always knew things before people did. Her father had explained it to her once on a video call from somewhere he couldn't name. Military dogs sense danger the way we sense weather. Jake Brennan had said, his face grainy on the small screen. Trust him, Maya. If Shadow tells you something's wrong, believe him. But this was different. This was the forest. This was the middle of a blizzard. And this was exactly where her grandmother had told her never to go. Maya stopped walking. Her boots sank into the snow up to her ankles. Her breath came out in white clouds that disappeared almost instantly. She was shivering now, really shivering, and she knew that was bad. Shadow? She tried again. We have to go back. Grandma's going to wake up. The dog turned his head just slightly. His dark eyes met hers for a single second. Then he kept moving. Maya felt her throat tighten. She was 7 years old. She was alone in the forest. The snow was getting heavier, and she couldn't even see her footprints behind her anymore. She should turn back. She should run home. She should... Shadow barked. Once. Sharp. Urgent. Maya's heart slammed against her ribs. She had never heard him make that sound before. Not in the 2 years he'd lived with them. Not even when the coyotes had come too close to the property last winter. This bark was different. This bark meant something. Okay, she whispered, her voice trembling. Okay, I'm coming. She didn't know why she followed him. Maybe it was because her father trusted this dog with his life. Maybe it was because Shadow had never led her anywhere dangerous before. Or maybe it was something else entirely, that feeling in her stomach, the one that told her something was very, very wrong. Maya pushed forward through the snow. 3 miles away, Eleanor Brennan woke with a start. The fire had burned down to embers. The living room was cold, and the silence that was what really hit her. The silence was too complete. Maya! No answer. Eleanor pushed herself up from the chair, her joints protesting. She was 68 years old, and winter always made her bones ache. But the ache she felt now had nothing to do with the cold. Maya, honey, where are you? She checked the kitchen. Empty. The bathroom. Empty. Maya's bedroom bed made books stacked neatly on the desk, the old flip phone missing from its charger. Eleanor's blood went cold. She moved to the window and looked out at the yard. Fresh snow covered everything. But there just barely visible were footprints. Small footprints, leading toward the tree line, and beside them, larger prints. Paw prints. No, Eleanor breathed. No, no, no. Her hands shook as she grabbed the phone. She dialed the police station, her fingers slipping on the buttons. Brennan residence, she said the moment someone answered. My granddaughter is missing. She's 7 years old. She went into the forest with the dog. Please, you have to find her. The dispatcher's voice was calm, professional. Ma'am, when did you last see her? I don't know. An hour, maybe more. I fell asleep. Oh God, I fell asleep. We'll send someone out right away. Can you describe what she was wearing? Eleanor closed her eyes, trying to remember. Pink coat. The one with the fur hood. Black boots. Mittens. Did she take Mittens' pink coat? She said. Please hurry, there's a blizzard coming. She's just a little girl." She hung up and stared out at the forest. The trees looked darker now, more menacing, like they were hiding something. Eleanor had raised a Navy SEAL. She had learned not to panic. But right now, standing in that silent house, she felt fear like she hadn't felt in 40 years. "Please, God," she whispered, "please bring her home." Maya had lost track of time. The snow was up to her knees now in some places. Her legs burned with every step. Her fingers had stopped hurting a while ago, which she knew wasn't good. She remembered her father teaching her about that, about how the body stops feeling pain right before things get really bad. But Shadow kept moving, so Maya kept moving too. "Where are we going?" she asked, even though she knew he couldn't answer. "Shadow, please, I'm so cold." The dog paused. He turned back to look at her, and for a moment, Maya thought he was going to lead her home. His eyes were different than any dog she'd ever known. Intelligent. Alert. Like there was a person trapped inside that furry body. Then he whined. A soft, urgent sound that made Maya's chest hurt. "You're trying to tell me something," she said. "I know you are. I just don't understand." Shadow took 3 steps back toward her. He pressed his muzzle against her palm. His nose was cold and wet, but the contact felt like safety, like her father's hand on her shoulder before he left for deployment. "I trust you," Maya whispered. "Daddy said I should always trust you, so I'm trusting you, okay? Don't let me down." Shadow licked her fingers once. Then he turned and started moving again, slower this time, checking over his shoulder every few steps to make sure she was following. They walked for what felt like hours, but was probably only 20 more minutes. Maya's whole body was shaking now. Her teeth chattered so hard she thought they might break. She wanted to cry, but she was too tired, too cold. Then Shadow stopped. Not slowed down, stopped completely. Every muscle in his body went rigid. Maya stumbled to a halt beside him. "What is it?" The dog's head lowered, his ears flattened, and then he started to dig. "Shadow, what?" He was frantic. His paws tore at the snow with desperate speed, sending white powder flying in every direction. Maya had never seen him like this, not once in her entire life. "Shadow, stop. You're scaring me." But he didn't stop. He dug harder, faster, whining and growling and making sounds that didn't seem possible for a dog to make. And then Maya saw something that made her whole world tilt sideways. A hand. A human hand, barely visible beneath the snow fingers, twitching weakly. Maya screamed. "Bachate, we have a situation." Sergeant Bill Patterson looked up from his desk. Deputy Reyes stood in the doorway, her face tight with concern. "What kind of situation?" "2 situations, actually. First, we got a call from Eleanor Brennan. Her granddaughter wandered into the forest with the family dog. She's 7 years old, been missing for at least an hour." Patterson felt his stomach drop. "Eleanor Brennan. That's Jake's mother, right? The SEAL." "Yes, sir." "Damn. What's the second situation?" Reyes hesitated. That hesitation told Patterson everything he needed to know. "Officers Cole and Vance missed their check-in," she said. 45 minutes ago. They were investigating a suspicious vehicle near the old logging road. We've tried reaching them on radio. Nothing. Their GPS stopped updating 30 minutes ago." Patterson stood up so fast his chair slammed into the wall behind him. 2 officers go dark, and a child goes missing in the same hour, in the same area. "Yes, sir." "That's not a coincidence." "No, sir. I don't think it is." Patterson grabbed his coat. His mind was racing through possibilities, none of them good. Cole and Vance were experienced officers. They didn't just go dark, not unless something had gone very, very wrong. "Get every available unit to that forest," he ordered. "And call the state police. We might need backup." "The weather? I don't care about the weather. We have 3 people missing, possibly more. Move!" Reyes nodded and ran. Patterson stood alone in his office for a moment, staring at the map on the wall. The forest was marked in green, a large, sprawling section of wilderness that had claimed more than a few lives over the years. Hunters who got lost, hikers who underestimated the cold, people who thought they knew the terrain better than they did. But this felt different. This felt planned. Patterson had been a cop for 30 years. He knew what evil looked like. And right now, he could feel it out there in those trees hiding beneath the snow. "Hang on," he muttered to no one. "Whoever you are, just hang on." Maya couldn't breathe. She was staring at the hand, at the fingers that kept twitching, reaching for something that wasn't there, and her whole body had frozen. Not from the cold this time. From fear. "Shadow," she whimpered. "Shadow, there's someone down there." The dog kept digging. He had cleared enough snow to reveal a wrist, then a forearm. The fabric of a jacket. A patch on the sleeve, a police badge. Maya's legs gave out. She dropped to her knees in the snow, and suddenly she was digging too. Her mittens were soaked through her fingers numb, but she dug anyway. Beside her, Shadow worked with frantic precision, using his training to excavate the snow layer by layer. "Help!" Maya screamed. "Somebody help!" But there was no one to hear her. The forest swallowed her voice like it swallowed everything else. More of the body emerged, a shoulder, a chest, a face. It was a man. His eyes were closed. His lips were blue. There was tape over his mouth, silver duct tape pressed so tight it had left marks on his skin. Maya stared at him. She didn't know what to do. She didn't know how to check if someone was alive. She was 7 years old. She was just a kid. But then the man's eyes opened. Maya jumped backward, her heart nearly exploding out of her chest. The man looked at her, really looked at her, and his eyes went wide with confusion. He tried to speak, but the tape made it impossible. Only muffled sounds came out, desperate and afraid. "Hold on," Maya said, her voice shaking. "Hold on, I'll get it off." She reached for the tape with trembling fingers. The adhesive was frozen, stuck to his skin, but she pulled anyway. The man winced, tears leaking from the corners of his eyes, but he didn't try to stop her. The tape came free with a horrible ripping sound. The man gasped, drew in a ragged breath, coughed violently. "Help!" he croaked. "Help! Her!" Maya didn't understand. "Help who?" The man's eyes shifted. He was looking at something beside him. Beneath him. Another shape under the snow. "My partner," he managed. "She's still down there. Please." Maya felt like she was going to throw up. There was another person buried under the snow. Another person dying. She started digging again. Shadow joined her, and together they worked faster than should have been possible. Minutes passed, or maybe hours. Maya couldn't tell anymore, and slowly another body emerged. A woman, younger than the man. Her face was gray. Her chest wasn't moving. "No," the man whispered. "No, no, no. Sarah, Sarah, wake up." Maya pressed her hand against the woman's cheek. It was cold. So cold. "Is she dead?" Maya asked, the words tumbling out before she could stop them. The man shook his head desperately. "Check. Check her pulse. Her neck. Can you feel her neck?" Maya didn't know what a pulse was supposed to feel like, but she pressed her fingers against the woman's throat anyway, just like she'd seen in movies. There was something there, a flutter, a whisper of movement. "I feel something," Maya said. "It's really small, but I feel something." "She's alive," the man breathed. "She's still alive. Thank God." Shadow had stopped digging. He was lying across the woman's chest now, sharing his body heat, the way military dogs were trained to do. His eyes never left Maya's face. The man tried to sit up and immediately cried out in pain. "My hands! They tied my hands!" Maya looked down and saw the rope around his wrists. Tight, thick rope that had cut into his skin. "I can't untie it," she said. "It's too tight. I need scissors or something." "Your phone?" the man gasped. Do you have a phone? Maya's hand went to her pocket. The flip phone. Grandma's old phone. Yes, she said. Yes, I have a phone. Call 911. Tell them officers down. Buried. Old logging road. They'll know. They'll know where we are. Maya pulled out the phone. Her hands were shaking so badly she could barely hold it. She flipped it open, prayed for a signal, and saw one bar. One bar was enough. She dialed 911. Hello? A woman's voice, calm, professional. My name is Maya Brennan, she said, her voice surprisingly steady. I found 2 police officers buried in the snow. They're alive, but they need help. Please hurry. Okay, Maya, where are you? Maya looked around. Trees, snow, more trees. I don't know, she admitted. I followed my dog into the forest. There's a man and a woman. The man said something about the old logging road. A pause. Then, Maya, I need you to stay on the line. Help is coming. Can you do that for me? Yes, I can do that. She lowered the phone slightly and looked at the man at the police officer who was still struggling to breathe. Help is coming, she told him. They said to stay on the line. The man closed his eyes. A tear slipped down his frozen cheek. Thank you, he whispered. Thank you. Reyes was the first to hear the call come through. All units, we have a report of 2 officers buried alive near the old logging road. Caller is a 7-year-old girl. She has a dog with her. Repeat officers down location near the old logging road. She grabbed her radio so fast she almost dropped it. This is Deputy Reyes. Did you say 2 officers? Confirmed. Caller identified them as police officers. 1 male, 1 female. Male is conscious. Female is unresponsive but alive. That's Cole and Vance, Reyes breathed. Jesus Christ, that's Cole and Vance. Patterson was already running for his vehicle. Reyes with me now. She didn't need to be told twice. They were in the car and moving within 30 seconds. The snow was coming down harder now, thick and relentless, but Patterson drove like a man possessed. The tires slipped on the ice. The windshield wipers fought a losing battle. Nothing stopped him. Dispatch, keep that girl on the line, he barked into the radio. I don't care how long it takes. Keep her talking. Copy that, Sergeant. Reyes gripped the dashboard as the car slid around a corner. How did a 7-year-old find them? We had no idea they were even in trouble. I don't know, Patterson said grimly. And right now, I don't care. We can figure out the how later. Right now, we just need to get there. The old logging road is another 10 minutes out. Then we make it in 5. Patterson pressed the accelerator to the floor. The world outside became a blur of white and gray. But somewhere out there, 2 officers were alive because a little girl had followed her dog into a blizzard. That was either a miracle or something else entirely. Patterson wasn't sure which one scared him more. Maya's phone battery was dying. She could see the little icon blinking in the corner of the screen. 20%. Maybe 15 minutes of talk time left if she was lucky. Please hurry, she said into the phone. The lady isn't waking up. Help is on the way, Maya. You're doing great. Can you tell me about the dog? His name is Shadow. He's a military dog. He used to work with my dad. Your dad is in the military. He's a Navy SEAL. He's deployed right now. Shadow stayed home to protect me. There was a pause on the other end. Maya heard voices in the background, urgent and overlapping. Maya, you said Shadow found the officers. Yes, he started acting weird and I followed him. He knew they were here. He just knew. That's incredible. You're both very brave. Maya didn't feel brave. She felt cold and scared and very, very small. But she stayed on the phone anyway because the dispatcher told her to, and because she didn't know what else to do. The officer had stopped talking a few minutes ago. His eyes were closed. Maya kept checking his chest to make sure he was still breathing. Don't die, she whispered to him. Please don't die. Help is coming. Shadow lifted his head suddenly. His ears swiveled forward. A moment later, Maya heard it too, the distant wail of sirens. "They're here," she said into the phone. "I can hear them." "Stay where you are, Maya. They'll find you." "How? I don't know where I am." "Shadow found the officers," the dispatcher said. "Maybe he can find the rescuers too." Maya looked at the dog. He was already on his feet, staring into the trees. "Shadow," she said. "Go get help. Bring them here." The dog hesitated. His training told him to stay with the victims to protect them, to share his warmth. But something in Maya's voice made him trust her. He took off into the trees. Maya was alone now, alone with two dying officers in the middle of a frozen forest. She lay down between them, one hand on the man's chest, the other on the woman's arm, trying to share what little heat she had left. "Stay alive," she whispered. "Please stay alive." The sirens grew louder, and somewhere in the distance, a dog barked. Patterson saw the dog first. It came running out of the tree line like a missile, a Belgian Malinois, lean and powerful, covered in snow. It stopped directly in front of the police car and barked once, twice, 3 times. "What the hell?" Reyes muttered. "That's the military dog," Patterson said. "The one that belongs to Jake Brennan." The dog turned and ran back into the trees. Stopped, looked back at them, barked again. "He wants us to follow him." "You can't be serious." "I'm dead serious. Get the medical kit. Move." They abandoned the car and followed the dog into the forest. The snow was deep, too deep for vehicles, but they pushed through anyway. Patterson's lungs burned with cold air. His legs screamed with every step. But he didn't stop. The dog moved with purpose, checking over its shoulder every few seconds to make sure they were still behind him. It led them through a maze of trees, around fallen logs, over frozen streams. And then Patterson saw her. A little girl lying in the snow between two bodies. She wasn't moving. "Maya!" he shouted. Her head lifted. Her eyes found his. "They're alive!" she called out, her voice thin and weak. "Please help them. They're alive!" Patterson reached her first. He dropped to his knees and pressed his fingers to the male officer's throat. A pulse, weak but present. "We got a heartbeat," he shouted. "Reyes, check the woman." Reyes was already there, already working. "She's alive too, barely. We need to move now." Patterson looked at the little girl. She was shivering uncontrollably, her lips turning blue, but she met his eyes with a clarity that stunned him. "You did this," he said. "You found them." Maya shook her head slightly. "Shadow found them. I just followed." The dog was lying beside her now, pressed against her side, sharing his warmth, just like he'd been trained to do. Patterson had seen a lot of things in 30 years of police work, but he had never seen anything like this. "Get the paramedics in here," he ordered, "and get blankets for the girl. Multiple blankets. She's hypothermic." Reyes was already on the radio. Within minutes, the forest was filled with people. Paramedics, officers, rescue workers, all fighting through the snow to reach the clearing. They loaded the male officer onto a stretcher first. He was conscious, barely, his eyes finding Maya as they lifted him. "Thank you," he whispered. "Thank you." The female officer was worse. Much worse. The paramedics worked on her frantically, their voices sharp with urgency. "She's coding. We need to move now." They carried her out at a run. Patterson stayed with Maya. Someone had wrapped a thermal blanket around her shoulders, but she was still shaking. "Can you walk?" he asked her. She looked up at him. "Is she going to die?" Patterson wanted to lie. He wanted to tell her everything was going to be fine, but this little girl had just saved 2 lives. She deserved the truth. "I don't know," he said. "But you gave her a chance. That's more than anyone else could have done." Maya was quiet for a long moment. Then she nodded. "Shadow knew," she said softly. "He knew they were there. He felt it somehow." Patterson looked at the dog who was watching them both with those intelligent, alert eyes. "Maybe he did," Patterson said. "Maybe he did." He helped Maya to her feet. She leaned on him heavily, her body exhausted beyond anything a 7-year-old should ever experience. "Let's get you home," he said. "Your grandmother is very worried about you." Maya took one step, then another. Shadow walked beside her close enough to catch her if she fell. Behind them, the forest went silent again. But somewhere beneath that silence, 2 hearts were still beating. 2 lives had been saved, and a little girl had proven that sometimes the smallest voice carries the loudest truth. Eleanor Brennan was standing on the porch when the police car pulled up. She had been standing there for over an hour, refusing to go inside, refusing to look away from the road. The cold had seeped into her bones, but she didn't care. Her granddaughter was out there somewhere. Her granddaughter was all that mattered. When she saw the car, her heart stopped. When she saw Maya step out of the back seat, she started running. "Maya, oh my baby girl." She swept the child into her arms, holding her so tight that Maya could barely breathe. But Maya didn't complain. She just buried her face in her grandmother's coat and started to cry. "I'm sorry," Maya sobbed. "I'm sorry I left. I'm sorry I scared you." "Hush now. You're home. You're safe. That's all that matters." Shadow stood beside them, his tail wagging slowly. Eleanor reached down and put her hand on his head. "You brought her back," she whispered. "You kept her safe." The dog's eyes met hers, and for just a moment, Eleanor could have sworn he understood every word. Patterson approached slowly, giving them space. "Mrs. Brennan, your granddaughter is a hero. She saved 2 police officers tonight." Eleanor looked up, confusion mixing with relief. "What do you mean?" "2 of our officers were buried alive in the forest. They would have died if Maya and Shadow hadn't found them." Eleanor's grip on Maya tightened. "My God." She called 911, stayed with them until help arrived. "She's hypothermic and exhausted, but she refused to leave them." "Mrs. Brennan, your granddaughter has more courage than officers twice her age." Eleanor looked down at Maya, her tiny, brave granddaughter, her son's daughter. "You're just like your father," she whispered, "brave and stubborn and impossible to stop." Maya managed a small smile. "Daddy told me to trust Shadow, so I did." Eleanor's eyes filled with tears. "He's going to be so proud of you, baby. So proud." Somewhere in the distance, sirens wailed. Helicopters circled overhead. The whole town was waking up to what had happened in that forest. But here on this porch, a grandmother held her granddaughter and thanked God for military dogs and children who followed their instincts. The storm was still raging, but inside, they were finally warm. The ambulance doors slammed shut, and Maya watched through the window as the vehicle disappeared into the storm. The woman officer was inside. Sarah. That was her name. Maya had heard the paramedics shouting it over and over while they worked on her. "Sarah, stay with us. Sarah, can you hear me? We're losing her." Those words echoed in Maya's head as her grandmother wrapped another blanket around her shoulders. She couldn't stop shaking. Not from the cold anymore. From something else. Something deeper. "Grandma?" Maya whispered. "Is she going to die?" Eleanor pulled her closer. "The doctors are going to do everything they can, sweetheart." "That's not an answer." Eleanor looked down at her granddaughter. 7 years old, and already she could see through the gentle lies adults told children, just like her father. "I don't know," Eleanor admitted. "But you gave her a chance. That's all anyone can do." Shadow pressed against Maya's leg. He hadn't left her side since they'd returned from the forest. His dark eyes watched everything alert even now, as if danger might appear at any moment. Sergeant Patterson approached them slowly. His face was drawn tired, but there was something else in his expression. Something that looked like determination. "Mrs. Brennan, I need to ask Maya some questions about what she saw out there." Eleanor's grip on Maya tightened. She's exhausted. She's been through trauma. Can't this wait? I wish it could. Patterson knelt down so he was eye level with Maya. Sweetheart, those officers didn't get buried by accident. Someone put them there. Someone tried to kill them. And right now, you're the only witness we have. Maya felt her stomach drop. Someone tried to kill them? Yes. And we need to find out who before they try again, or before they hurt someone else. Eleanor started to protest, but Maya spoke first. I'll help. Maya. Grandma. I found them. If someone did this to them, I want to help catch them. Patterson studied her face. You're a brave kid, braver than most adults I know. My dad's a SEAL. He says brave is just scared with a mission. A ghost of a smile crossed Patterson's face. Your dad sounds like a smart man. Okay, Maya, tell me everything. Start from the moment Shadow began acting strange. Maya closed her eyes. She didn't want to go back there. Didn't want to remember the cold, the fear, the hand reaching up from the snow. But she did it anyway. We were just walking, she began. Near the tree line, like Grandma said. Then Shadow stopped. His ears went up and he started sniffing the air. He looked scared. I've never seen him scared before. What happened next? He ran into the forest. I called him, but he didn't listen, so I followed him. How far did you go? I don't know. It felt like forever. My legs hurt and I was so cold. But Shadow kept going, so I kept going. Patterson was writing everything down. Did you see anyone else? Any vehicles? Footprints? Maya frowned, trying to remember. I think I saw tire tracks. Before the snow covered everything. They were big, like from a truck or a van. Patterson's pen stopped moving. Where exactly? Near where Shadow started digging. Maybe 50 feet away. They went that way. She pointed vaguely east. Did you see the vehicle? No, just the tracks. Patterson stood up, his expression hardening. That's very helpful, Maya. Very helpful. He turned to Deputy Reyes, who had been listening from a few feet away. Get forensics to that clearing, now. I want every inch of that area processed before the snow buries the evidence. In this weather? I don't care if we have to dig through 10 feet of snow. Someone tried to murder 2 of our officers. We're going to find out who. Reyes nodded and ran for her radio. Patterson looked back at Maya. You did good, kid. Real good. Now let's get you to the hospital. The doctors need to check you out, make sure you don't have frostbite. I don't want to go to the hospital. I know, but your grandmother would never forgive me if I let something happen to you. Besides, don't you want to check on the officers? Make sure they're okay. Maya hesitated. She did want to know. She needed to know. Okay, she said quietly, but Shadow comes with me. Patterson glanced at the dog. Military working dogs didn't usually get hospital privileges, but after what this one had done tonight, Patterson figured the rules could bend a little. He comes with you, he agreed. Let's go. The drive to the hospital was silent. Maya sat in the back of the police car with Shadow, her hand buried in his fur. Eleanor sat beside her, holding her other hand. Nobody spoke. There was nothing to say. At the hospital, everything was chaos. Doctors and nurses rushed through hallways. Machines beeped and alarms sounded. Maya had never been somewhere so loud, so frantic. A nurse intercepted them almost immediately. Are you the little girl? The one who found the officers? Maya nodded. The nurse's face softened. You're a hero, sweetheart. Do you know that? Maya didn't feel like a hero. She felt small and scared, and very, very tired. Can I see them? She asked. The police officers. Officer Cole is stable. He's asking for you, actually. But Officer Vance... The nurse hesitated. She's in surgery. It's going to be a while. Is she going to make it? The nurse looked at Eleanor, then back at Maya. We're doing everything we can. That phrase again. The one adults used when they didn't want to say something worse. I want to see Officer Cole. Maya said. Please. The nurse nodded. Follow me. They walked through a maze of hallways until they reached a room with a closed door. The nurse knocked once, then opened it. Marcus Cole lay in a hospital bed hooked up to monitors and IV lines. His face was pale, his lips still tinged with blue. But his eyes were open, and when he saw Maya, something in them shifted. Hey, he said softly. Hey, it's you. Maya approached the bed slowly, Shadow at her heels. Are you okay? Marcus tried to smile. I'm alive, thanks to you. Thanks to Shadow. He found you. You followed him. You stayed with us. You called for help. Marcus reached out and touched her hand. His fingers were cold, wrapped in bandages, but the gesture was warm. I was dying, Maya. I could feel it. The cold was taking me. And then I heard digging, and I thought it was the men coming back to finish the job. But it was a dog, and then it was you, a little girl in a pink coat. Maya felt tears prick her eyes. I was so scared. You should have been, but you didn't run. That takes more courage than most people have. My dad says. I know what your dad says. I know who your dad is. Marcus squeezed her hand gently. Navy SEAL, Shadow's original handler, Jake Brennan. Maya's eyes went wide. You know my dad? I know of him. Everyone in law enforcement does. He's a legend, and now I understand why. Marcus looked at Shadow, who sat calmly beside Maya's chair. He trained this dog, and he raised you. That's why you both refused to quit. Maya didn't know what to say. She looked at Shadow, who met her gaze with those intelligent, steady eyes. What happened? She asked finally. Why were you buried out there? Marcus's expression darkened. We found something we weren't supposed to find. A van. We thought it was just stranded travelers. We were wrong. Who were they? I don't know yet. There were 3 of them, armed. They got the drop on us. Shame flickered across his face. I'm a 12-year veteran, and I let them get the drop on us. That's not your fault. Sarah's fighting for her life right now. That feels like my fault. Maya thought about what her father had told her once during a video call when he seemed sadder than usual. My dad says sometimes bad things happen to good people, and it's not about fault. It's about what you do next. Marcus stared at her. How old are you again? 7. You're the wisest 7-year-old I've ever met. A knock at the door interrupted them. Patterson stepped inside, his face grim. Cole, how are you feeling? Like I got buried alive, sir. We need to talk about what happened. I need details. Marcus nodded slowly. The van had no plates, 3 men all wearing masks. One of them mentioned a shipment, something about the merchandise being delayed. Merchandise. That's what they said, and they were nervous, really nervous, like whatever was in that van was worth more than our lives. Patterson's jaw tightened. Weapons. Maybe. Or drugs. Or something worse. All I know is they wanted us gone, permanently. They buried you alive. That's not just murder, that's a message. A message to who? That's what we need to find out. The door opened again. A doctor stepped in, his face ashen. Sergeant Patterson, we need you in the hallway. It's about Officer Vance. Everyone in the room went still. Is she? Marcus started. Just come with me, please. Patterson followed the doctor out. The door clicked shut behind them. Maya looked at Marcus. His face had gone white. She's my partner, he said, his voice cracking. We've been partners for 3 years. She's like a sister to me. She's strong, Maya said. I could tell. Even when she wasn't breathing, she was fighting. I felt it. Marcus closed his eyes. A tear slipped down his cheek. God, I hope you're right. The minutes stretched into eternity. Maya sat perfectly still. Shadow pressed against her legs. Eleanor stood by the window, her lips moving in silent prayer. When Patterson returned, his face was unreadable. Well? Marcus demanded. Tell me. She's out of surgery, Patterson said slowly. Her core temperature was 84 degrees when they brought her in. They had to warm her slowly to prevent organ failure. There were complications. "Patterson, just tell me." She coded on the table. Twice. Marcus made a sound that wasn't quite human. A gasp or a sob or something in between. "But they brought her back," Patterson continued. "She's in a medically induced coma now. The next 24 hours will be critical. But she's alive." "She's alive. Barely, but alive." Marcus covered his face with his bandaged hands. His shoulders shook. Maya stood up and walked to his bedside. She didn't know what to do, so she did what her grandmother always did when she was upset. She put her hand on his arm and just held it there. "She's alive," Maya said softly. "That means there's hope." Marcus looked at her through his fingers. "You really are Jake Brennan's daughter. Everyone keeps saying that. Because it's true." A commotion in the hallway drew their attention. Voices raised and angry. Maya heard a woman shouting, "Where is he? Where's my husband?" The door burst open. A woman in her 30s rushed in. Her face streaked with tears. Two little girls, maybe 5 years old, clung to her hands. "Marcus?" She ran to the bed and threw herself at him, crying so hard she could barely speak. "Oh God, Marcus! They told me you were buried. They told me you might be dead." "Jenny." Marcus wrapped his arms around her, wincing at the pain but not letting go. "Jenny, I'm okay. I'm okay." "You're not okay. Look at you. Look at your hands." "I'm alive. That's what matters." The twin girls stood frozen near the door, their eyes huge with confusion and fear. They didn't understand what was happening. They just knew their daddy was hurt. Maya felt a sharp pain in her chest. These girls were younger than her, but they had something she didn't have. Their dad was right here. Hurt, but here. Her dad was on the other side of the world fighting battles she couldn't imagine. Shadow nudged her hand with his nose. He always knew when she was sad. "Girls," Marcus said, reaching out toward his daughters. "Come here. Come see Daddy." They rushed to him, climbing onto the bed despite the nurses' protests. Marcus held them tight, tears streaming down his face. "I'm okay," he kept saying. "Daddy's okay." Maya stepped back. This wasn't her moment. This was theirs. Eleanor took her hand. "Let's give them some privacy, sweetheart." They slipped out of the room, Shadow following silently. In the hallway, Maya leaned against the wall and tried to breathe. "That's his family," she said. "Yes." "He almost left them. Forever." "Yes." "And the lady officer? Does she have a family too?" Eleanor nodded slowly. "Everyone has someone who loves them, Maya. That's why what you did today matters so much. You gave those families more time, more moments." Maya thought about her own father, about the video calls that were never long enough, about the empty chair at dinner, about the way her grandmother sometimes cried when she thought Maya was asleep. "I want to call Daddy," she said suddenly. Eleanor's face fell. "Sweetheart, you know we can't just—" "I know, but I want to try. The Red Cross thing. You said in emergencies they can get a message through. This isn't exactly—" "Grandma, please." Eleanor looked at her granddaughter's face, the exhaustion, the fear, the desperate need to hear her father's voice. "I'll make some calls," she said finally. "I can't promise anything. I know, but I'll try. Thank you." They found a quiet corner in the waiting room. Shadow lay at Maya's feet while Eleanor made phone calls speaking in hushed, urgent tones. Maya watched the clock on the wall. The minutes crawled by. Every time someone walked past, she looked up hoping for news about Sarah, about the investigation, about anything. An hour passed. Then 2. Eleanor finally sat down beside her, looking defeated. "They're trying to reach his unit. But communications are restricted right now. They wouldn't tell me why. He's on a mission. Probably. He's always on a mission." Eleanor took her hand. "He's protecting people, Maya, just like you did today." "I know, but sometimes—" Maya's voice broke. Sometimes I just want him to protect me. Eleanor pulled her close. He does, baby. Every day. That's why Shadow is here. That's why I'm here. He made sure you'd be safe, even when he couldn't be here himself. It's not the same. I know it's not. I know. They sat like that for a long time, holding each other, while the hospital hummed with activity around them. Then Patterson appeared. His face was different now, harder, more urgent. Mrs. Brennan, Maya, we need to talk. What is it? Eleanor stood up quickly. What happened? We processed the crime scene, found the tire tracks Maya mentioned, and something else. What? Patterson lowered his voice. A shell casing, .45 caliber, military grade. Maya didn't understand, but her grandmother clearly did. Eleanor's face went pale. Military grade. Yes, ma'am. The same type used by special operations units. Patterson's eyes met hers. Mrs. Brennan, is there any chance your son might have enemies? People who would want to hurt his family to get to him. The world tilted. Maya felt like she was falling even though she was sitting perfectly still. What are you saying? Eleanor demanded. You think someone targeted those officers because of Jake? I'm saying it's one possibility we need to consider. Jake Brennan has been involved in operations against some very dangerous people. Drug cartels, weapons smugglers, terrorist cells. Any one of them might see his family as a vulnerability. That's insane. Maya is 7 years old. I know, and I hope I'm wrong, but we need to take precautions. Patterson looked at Maya. You said Shadow started acting strange, like he sensed something. Is it possible he recognized something? A scent, a sound. Maya thought back to the forest, to the way Shadow had gone rigid, every muscle tensed. He looked scared, she said slowly, but also angry, like he wanted to fight something. Military dogs are trained to recognize threats, Patterson said, including threats from former enemies. Is there any chance Shadow might have encountered these men before? Eleanor shook her head. That's impossible. Shadow has been with us for 2 years. He's never left the property except for walks with Maya. And Jake never mentioned anyone who might want revenge. Any operations that went wrong. Jake doesn't talk about his missions. Ever. Not even to me. Patterson rubbed his face, looking frustrated. We need to reach him. We need to know if there's a connection. The Red Cross is already trying. That's not fast enough. I'm going to reach out to the military directly. This is a potential national security issue now. He walked away, already pulling out his phone. Maya looked at her grandmother. Grandma, is Daddy in danger? Eleanor knelt down so she was eye level with her granddaughter. Your daddy has been in danger every day for the past 15 years, and every single time he's come home. He's the best at what he does, Maya, the very best. But if someone is trying to hurt us to hurt him, then they picked the wrong family. Eleanor's voice hardened in a way Maya had never heard before. Your grandfather was Special Forces. Your father is a SEAL, and you just saved 2 police officers in a blizzard. The Brennans don't break. We don't run. And we don't let evil win. Maya stared at her grandmother. She had never seen this side of her before, the steel beneath the soft exterior. What do? We stay strong, we stay alert, and we trust the people trying to protect us. Eleanor glanced at Shadow. And we trust him. He's kept you safe this long. He'll keep you safe now. Shadow lifted his head at the sound of his name. His eyes locked onto Maya's face with absolute focus. Good boy, Maya whispered. Good boy. A nurse appeared in the doorway. Excuse me, is there a Maya Brennan here? Maya stood up quickly. That's me. Officer Vance is awake. She's asking for you. Maya felt her heart stop. She's awake already. The doctors are calling it a miracle. Her temperature stabilized much faster than expected. They think... The nurse paused, glancing at Shadow. They think the dog's body heat might have made the difference. Those extra minutes before the paramedics arrived. Maya looked at Shadow. He just wagged his tail once. "Can I see her?" "She specifically asked for you, and the dog." They walked through the hallways again, past the intensive care unit, past rooms full of beeping machines and quiet suffering. Finally, they reached a door guarded by 2 police officers. "She's inside," the nurse said, "but don't stay too long. She needs rest." Maya pushed open the door. Sarah Vance lay in the hospital bed, her face pale, but her eyes open. When she saw Maya, she smiled. "Hey," she said weakly. "Hey, there you are." Maya approached the bed slowly. Sarah looked so fragile, so different from the woman she'd pulled from the snow. "They said you died," Maya whispered. "Twice." "I did." Sarah's smile didn't waver. "But I came back. You know why?" "Why?" "Because I heard something. When I was under the snow, when I was so cold I couldn't feel anything anymore. I heard digging, and I thought, someone's coming, someone's fighting for me, so I had to fight too." Maya felt tears spill down her cheeks. "I was so scared I wouldn't be fast enough." "You were fast enough. You were perfect." Sarah reached out and took Maya's hand. Her grip was weak but warm. "I heard them talking about you. The doctors. They said you're the daughter of a Navy SEAL. My dad's deployed. I know, but he would be so proud of you right now." Sarah's eyes glistened. "I don't have kids, Maya. Never thought I wanted them. But if I ever do, I hope they're exactly like you." Maya didn't know what to say, so she just squeezed Sarah's hand tighter. "The police said someone tried to kill you," Maya said. "On purpose." Sarah's face changed. The warmth faded, replaced by something colder. "Yes." "Do you know who?" "No, but I remember something. One of them. When he thought we were unconscious, he made a phone call. He said a name." "What name?" Sarah looked at the door, then back at Maya. She lowered her voice. "Brennan?" He said, "Tell Brennan this is just the beginning." Maya felt ice flood her veins. "My name is Brennan," she whispered. "My dad's name is Brennan." Sarah nodded slowly. "I know. That's why I needed to tell you. That's why I had to wake up." Maya's hands started shaking. Shadow pressed against her legs, sensing her fear. "Maya!" Sarah gripped her hand harder. "You need to tell the police. You need to tell everyone. Whatever these men want, it's connected to your family. And if they find out you're the one who saved us..." She didn't finish the sentence. She didn't have to. Maya understood perfectly. She wasn't just a witness anymore. She was a target. Maya ran out of Sarah's room so fast she nearly knocked over a nurse. Her legs moved before her brain could catch up, carrying her down the hallway toward her grandmother, toward Patterson, toward anyone who could help. "Grandma!" Her voice echoed off the walls. "Grandma!" Eleanor was on her feet instantly, her face tight with alarm. "Maya, what is it? What's wrong?" They said his name. The men who buried the officers. They said Brennan. Maya's words tumbled out in a rush, tripping over each other. Sarah heard them. They said, "Tell Brennan this is just the beginning." Eleanor's face went white. For a moment, she looked like she might collapse. Patterson was there in 3 strides. "What did you just say?" "Officer Vance told me. She heard one of them on the phone. He said my name, our name." Maya grabbed Patterson's sleeve, her fingers digging into the fabric. "They know who we are. They did this because of my dad." Patterson's jaw clenched so hard, Maya could see the muscles jumping beneath his skin. He pulled out his radio. "All units, this is Sergeant Patterson. I need immediate protective detail at Mountain View Medical Center. Room 247. Also need additional units to the Brennan residence. This is now a targeted threat situation. Repeat, targeted threat." The radio crackled with responses. Eleanor pulled Maya close, her arms wrapping around her like a shield. "How did they find us?" Eleanor whispered. "How did they know?" That's what we need to figure out. Patterson knelt down in front of Maya. Sweetheart, I need you to think very carefully. Before today, did anything strange happen? Anyone you didn't recognize hanging around your house? Any unusual phone calls? Maya tried to think. Her mind was racing so fast, it was hard to grab onto any single thought. There was a van, she said suddenly. Last week, a black van. It drove past our house really slow, 3 times. Eleanor drew in a sharp breath. You never told me that. I didn't think it was important. Shadow barked at it, but he barks at lots of things. No. Patterson's voice was grim. Shadow doesn't bark at lots of things. He's a military working dog. He only alerts when he senses a genuine threat. He stood up and looked at Eleanor. Mrs. Brennan, I'm putting you and Maya under protective custody, effective immediately. What does that mean? It means you don't go anywhere without armed officers. It means we sweep your house for surveillance devices. And it means we get in touch with your son's commanding officer right now tonight and find out exactly who might want to hurt his family. Eleanor nodded slowly. Her face was pale, but her voice was steady. Do whatever you need to do. There's one more thing. Patterson hesitated. The men who did this are still out there. If they know Maya saved the officers, they might try to finish what they started. We need to consider moving you to a safe location. No. Maya spoke before she could stop herself. No, I'm not hiding. Maya, Eleanor started. Dad wouldn't hide. He would fight back. He would find the bad guys and stop them. Your dad is a trained SEAL operator, Patterson said gently. You're 7 years old. I know how old I am, but I also know that running away doesn't solve anything. You need to catch these men, and I'm the only one who saw the tire tracks. I'm the only one who knows exactly where Shadow found the officers. Patterson stared at her. For a long moment, nobody spoke. She's right, he said finally. She might be our best resource. Absolutely not. Eleanor's voice cracked like a whip. You are not using my granddaughter as bait. That's not what I'm suggesting, but Maya's memory might be the key to finding these men. If she can work with our forensics team, help them understand exactly what she saw. She's been through enough. I want to help. Maya looked up at her grandmother. Please, Grandma, if there's anything I can do to stop these people, I want to do it. Eleanor's eyes filled with tears. You're so much like your father, it breaks my heart. Is that bad? No, baby. Eleanor cupped Maya's face in her hands. It's not bad, it's just hard to watch you grow up so fast. A commotion at the end of the hallway drew their attention. 2 men in suits were walking toward them, their faces hard and unreadable. They moved with a precision that Maya recognized. Military, like her father. Sergeant Patterson. The first man flashed a badge too quickly for Maya to read. Agent Collins, Naval Criminal Investigative Service. We need to talk about Jake Brennan. Patterson's eyebrows shot up. NCIS, how did you get here so fast? We've been monitoring chatter for the past 72 hours. When we heard about the attempted murder of 2 officers and a potential connection to Commander Brennan, we mobilized immediately. Monitoring chatter. What kind of chatter? Collins glanced at Maya and Eleanor. Is there somewhere more private we can discuss this? Anything you have to say, you can say in front of them. They're the targets. Collins hesitated, then nodded slowly. Fine. 3 days ago, we intercepted communications from a known weapons trafficking network. The Volkov organization. They've been running military-grade arms through this region for months, using the forest as a distribution hub. The officers stumbled onto their operation, Patterson said. Exactly. But that's not why they were buried alive. A quick kill would have been easier, cleaner. No, they wanted those officers to suffer. They wanted to send a message. To Jake Brennan. To Jake Brennan. Collins's voice dropped. 8 months ago, Commander Brennan led a raid that took down a Volkov weapons shipment worth $40 million. 13 of their operatives were killed, including Mikhail Volkov's younger brother. Maya felt the ground shift beneath her feet. Her father had killed someone's brother, and now that someone wanted revenge. Volkov put a price on Brennan's head, Collins continued. $500,000 to anyone who could deliver him. But Brennan's too well protected, so Volkov decided to hit him where it would hurt the most. His family. Eleanor's voice was barely a whisper. Yes, ma'am. We believe the men who attacked the officers were Volkov operatives. The burial was meant to draw attention, create fear, send a message to Brennan that no one he loves is safe. Then they didn't expect Maya to find them, Patterson said. No, they expected those officers to die slowly and painfully. They expected the bodies to be found days later, if at all. Instead, a 7-year-old girl and her dog ruined their entire plan. Collins looked at Maya with something that might have been respect. You cost them 2 witnesses who are now alive to testify, and you exposed their operation to federal investigation. What does that mean for Maya? Eleanor demanded. Are they going to come after her? Collins didn't answer immediately. That silence told Maya everything she needed to know. We're taking precautions, he said finally. But yes, there's a possibility they'll try to eliminate anyone who can identify them or their methods. Maya can't identify them. She never saw their faces. They don't know that. All they know is that someone found their victims before they were supposed to be found. Someone who might have seen something. Someone who might be a threat. Eleanor grabbed Maya and pulled her close. Then get us out of here. Get us somewhere safe. We're working on it, but first we need to know everything Maya remembers. Every detail could be crucial. Maya looked up at Agent Collins. He was tall, imposing, with eyes that seemed to see everything. But she wasn't afraid of him. She was afraid of the men in the forest, the ones who had buried 2 people alive and laughed about it. I'll tell you everything, she said. But first I want to talk to my dad. Collins and Patterson exchanged glances. That's complicated, Collins said. Why? Your father is currently on an operation. We can't contact him directly without compromising his mission and potentially putting him and his team in danger. But he doesn't know what's happening. He doesn't know his family is in danger. He'll be notified as soon as possible. That's not good enough. Maya's voice rose, cracking with emotion she'd been holding back for hours. He needs to know now. He would want to know. Maya. Eleanor tried to calm her. No. Everyone keeps telling me to trust them to let them handle it, but nobody's doing anything. Those men are still out there and my dad doesn't even know. Tears streamed down her face. I want my dad. I want him to come home. The hallway went quiet. Even the distant hospital sounds seemed to fade. Shadow pressed against Maya's legs, whining softly. He could feel her distress, her fear, her overwhelming need for something no one could give her. Agent Collins knelt down so he was eye level with Maya. His expression had changed, softer now, more human. Listen to me, he said quietly. Your father is one of the best operators I've ever worked with. He's survived situations that would kill most men 10 times over. And the one thing that has always driven him, the one thing he's told me keeps him going on the darkest missions is you. Maya blinked through her tears. Me? You. He carries a picture of you in his tactical vest, right over his heart. He says it reminds him what he's fighting for. Collins took a slow breath. I can't bring him home right now. But I can promise you this, the moment his mission is complete, he will know. And knowing Jake, he'll move heaven and earth to get back to you. Maya wanted to believe him. She wanted to trust that her father would come home, that everything would be okay, that the nightmare would end. But she'd seen those officers' faces. She'd felt their fear. She knew what evil looked like now, and she knew it wasn't going to stop just because she wanted it to. Okay, she said finally, wiping her face with the back of her hand. Okay, I'll tell you what I remember. They moved to a conference room on the 2nd floor. Patterson Collins, his partner, Agent Martinez, Eleanor, Maya, and Shadow. The dog lay at Maya's feet, his head on his paws, his eyes tracking every movement in the room. Collins pulled out a recorder. "Start from the beginning. Take your time." Maya closed her eyes. She didn't want to go back there, but she had to. "Shadow woke me up," she began. "Before I even got out of bed, he was at my door, whining, scratching. He never does that unless something's wrong." "What time was this?" "I don't know. Morning. The snow had just started." "Go on." "I got dressed and let him outside. He ran straight for the tree line. I called him, but he wouldn't come back. So I followed him." "Why?" Maya opened her eyes and looked at Collins. "Because my dad told me to trust him. Always. No matter what." Collins nodded slowly. "Your dad was right." The questioning continued for over an hour. Maya described the tire tracks, the direction they led the clearing where Shadow had started digging. She described the way the man's hand had looked when it broke through the snow, the tape on his mouth, the terror in his eyes. By the time she finished, she was shaking. "You did great," Collins said, turning off the recorder. "Really great." "Did it help?" "More than you know. The tire track pattern you described matches a specific type of vehicle, a cargo van modified for off-road use. There are only 3 dealerships in the state that sell that model. We're already pulling purchase records." "So you'll find them." "We'll find them." Maya wanted to believe him, but something was nagging at her, something that didn't quite fit. "Agent Collins, can I ask you something?" "Of course." "Those men, they buried the officers alive instead of just shooting them. You said it was to send a message, but what if there was another reason?" Collins frowned. "What do you mean?" "Shadow found them because he smelled them. If they had been shot, there would have been blood. The smell would have been different, but they were buried alive, clean, no blood, just—" She struggled to find the right words. "Just cold. What if they did it that way on purpose, so dogs couldn't track them?" The room went silent. Collins and Martinez exchanged a look that made Maya's stomach drop. "She's right," Martinez said slowly. "The Volkov organization uses counter-surveillance tactics. They know about K9 units. They know about blood detection. Burying them alive without physical trauma would minimize scent markers." "But Shadow found them anyway," Collins said. "Because Shadow wasn't tracking blood," Maya said. "He was tracking something else. I don't know what, but he knew they were there." Patterson leaned forward. "Military working dogs are trained to detect more than just blood. Explosives, drugs, chemical compounds. The officers weren't carrying any of that. No, but the men who buried them might have been." Collins was already on his phone. "I need a full analysis of the clothing recovered from the burial site. Check for any trace chemicals, explosives, residue, anything that might have been left by the perpetrators." He stepped out of the room, speaking rapidly. Eleanor put her arm around Maya. "How did you figure that out?" "I don't know. It just made sense." Maya looked at Shadow. "He knew something was wrong from the moment we left the house, not just in the forest. Before. He was nervous all morning, like he was waiting for something bad to happen. He sensed the threat before anyone else did." "He always does." The door opened and Collins came back in. His face was different now, excited, urgent. "You were right," he said to Maya. "The lab found traces of Semtex on Officer Cole's jacket, military-grade plastic explosive, the same type used in Volkov operations." "What does that mean?" "It means Shadow didn't just smell the officers. He smelled the explosives on their attackers. His training kicked in and he tracked the scent. So the men who did this, they had bombs." "Probably, which means this wasn't just about sending a message. They were planning something bigger, and your dog might have just helped us stop it." Maya felt dizzy. Too much information. Too many terrible possibilities. "I think she needs rest," Eleanor said firmly. "She's been through enough for one day." "Of course. We'll have officers escort you to a safe house, somewhere secure until we can assess the threat level." "What about our house? We'll have a team sweep it tonight. If they planted any surveillance devices, we'll find them." They gathered their things and headed for the door. Maya was so tired she could barely walk. But as they passed the elevator, Shadow suddenly stopped. His ears went up. His body went rigid. That posture Maya knew too well. "Shadow." She knelt beside him. "What is it?" The dog was staring at the elevator doors. A low growl rumbled in his throat. Ding. The doors opened. A man stepped out. Tall, dark coat. He glanced at Maya for just a second. Shadow lunged. The man stumbled backward as the dog slammed into him, teeth bared, barking with a ferocity Maya had never seen. Officers rushed forward, guns drawn, shouting commands. "Down! Get down, hands where we can see them!" The man hit the floor. Shadow standing over him, jaws inches from his face. "Call off the dog!" the man screamed. "Call off the dog! I'm just a visitor." Collins grabbed Shadow's collar and pulled him back. The dog resisted, still growling, still focused on the man, like he wanted to tear him apart. "Check him," Collins ordered. Martinez searched the man. Wallet, keys, cell phone. Then he stopped. "Collins, you need to see this." He held up the phone. On the screen was a photograph. A photograph of Maya, walking into the hospital, taken less than 2 hours ago. The man on the floor started laughing. "You think you're safe," he said, looking directly at Maya. "You think any of you are safe. This is just the beginning, little girl. Just the beginning." Collins hauled him up by his collar. "Get him to interrogation, now!" They dragged the man away, still laughing, the sound echoing down the hallway like something out of a nightmare. Maya stood frozen, her heart pounding so hard she thought it might explode. They had found her. They were already here, and somewhere out there, more of them were waiting. Eleanor grabbed Maya's hand and started running. "We need to leave, now!" Patterson was already on his radio, calling for backup, calling for cars, calling for anything that could get them out of there. Shadow ran beside Maya, his body pressed against her legs, protecting her the only way he knew how. They burst through the emergency exit and into the parking lot. 2 police cruisers were waiting, engines running. "Get in!" Patterson shouted. Maya dove into the back seat. Eleanor followed. Shadow jumped in after them, landing on Maya's lap with a weight that was somehow comforting. The doors slammed shut, and the cars took off, sirens wailing. Maya looked out the back window. The hospital was shrinking behind them, its lights glowing in the darkness. Somewhere in that building, a man was being interrogated. A man who had been sent to watch her, maybe to kill her. And somewhere out there, others were waiting. "Where are we going?" Maya asked. "Somewhere safe," Patterson said from the front seat. "Is anywhere safe?" He didn't answer. Maya closed her eyes and hugged Shadow tight. The dog's heartbeat was steady against her chest. Strong, reliable. Her father was on the other side of the world. Her grandmother was terrified. The police were scrambling. But Shadow was here. Shadow would protect her. He always had. The cars raced through the night, and Maya tried to remember what her father had told her before his last deployment. "When everything falls apart," he had said, "when you feel like there's no way out, just remember you're a Brennan, and Brennans never quit." She wasn't quitting. She was just getting started. The safe house was 30 miles outside of town. Maya counted every mile on the dashboard display, watching the numbers climb, while her stomach twisted tighter and tighter. Nobody spoke during the drive. Patterson kept his eyes on the road. Eleanor held Maya's hand so tight it hurt. Shadow lay across both their laps, his body tense, his ears swiveling at every sound. When they finally stopped, Maya looked out the window at a small house surrounded by trees. 2 more police cars were already parked outside. Officers stood at every corner, hands on their weapons. "Inside," Patterson said. "Quickly." They moved fast, staying low, surrounded by uniforms. Maya felt like she was in one of her father's war movies. The ones he never let her watch, but she sometimes peeked at anyway. The door closed behind them, and suddenly everything was quiet. Too quiet. You'll be safe here, Patterson said. This location isn't in any database. No one knows about it except essential personnel. The man at the hospital knew where to find us, Eleanor said sharply. How do we know they won't find us here? We don't, but we're doing everything we can. That's not good enough. Ma'am, I understand your fear, but right now, this is the best we can offer. Maya walked to the window and looked out at the darkness. Somewhere out there, men were hunting her. Men who buried people alive. Men who laughed about it. Maya. Eleanor's voice was soft. Come away from the window. They're not going to stop, are they? Maya didn't turn around. Even if you catch the ones at the hospital, there are more. Patterson and Eleanor exchanged glances. We're going to catch all of them, Patterson said. You don't know that. No, I don't. But I know we're going to try. Maya finally turned around. Her face was pale, her eyes too old for her 7 years. I want to help. Maya, I mean it. I'm not just going to sit here and wait for them to find us. There has to be something I can do. Patterson knelt down in front of her. You've already done more than anyone could have expected. You saved 2 lives. You gave us crucial information. Now let us do our jobs. But, no buts. You're a kid, Maya. A brave, incredible kid. But you're still a kid. And my job is to keep you safe. Maya wanted to argue, wanted to scream, but she was so tired. Every bone in her body ached with exhaustion. Fine, she whispered. But promise me something. What? Promise me you'll tell me the truth, no matter what, even if it's bad. Patterson hesitated, then he nodded. I promise. Eleanor led Maya to a small bedroom in the back of the house. Shadow jumped onto the bed first, claiming his spot at the foot. Try to sleep, Eleanor said, pulling the covers up to Maya's chin. I'll be right outside. Grandma? Yes, baby. Do you think Dad knows yet about what's happening? Eleanor's face tightened. I don't know, but I'm sure they're trying to reach him. What if they can't? What if something happens before he finds out? Then we handle it ourselves. That's what Brennans do. Eleanor leaned down and kissed her forehead. Now sleep. Tomorrow is going to be a long day. She left the door open a crack. Light spilled in from the hallway, just enough to keep the darkness at bay. Maya lay there staring at the ceiling. Her mind wouldn't stop racing. The man at the hospital. His laugh. The photograph on his phone. They had been watching her. For how long? Days, weeks. Shadow crawled up the bed and pressed his body against her side. His warmth was the only thing that felt real. I'm scared, Maya whispered to him. I know I'm not supposed to be. I know Dad would tell me to be brave, but I'm so scared. Shadow licked her face once. His tongue was rough and warm. You're not scared, are you? You're never scared. The dog rested his head on her chest. His eyes watched the door, always watching, always alert. Maya closed her eyes. She didn't think she would sleep, but exhaustion pulled her under anyway, dragging her down into dreams she wouldn't remember. She woke to shouting. Maya sat up so fast her head spun. Shadow was already on his feet, growling, his hackles raised. What's happening? She scrambled out of bed and ran for the door. Eleanor met her in the hallway, her face white with fear. Stay back, Maya. Stay in your room. What's going on? I don't know. Just stay. A gunshot exploded somewhere outside, then another, then a burst of automatic fire that seemed to go on forever. Maya screamed. Eleanor grabbed her and pulled her to the floor, covering her body with her own. Stay down. Stay down. More shots. Shouting. Glass shattering somewhere in the house. Shadow was barking now, that terrifying bark Maya had only heard once before. In the forest. When he was trying to save lives. They found us. Patterson's voice came from the front of the house. Back door. Get them to the back door. Eleanor hauled Maya to her feet. They ran through the hallway, ducking low, moving fast. Shadow sprinted ahead of them, clearing the path. A figure appeared in the kitchen doorway. Dark clothes, masked face, gun raised. Shadow launched himself through the air. The man screamed as the dog hit him, jaws clamping down on his arm. The gun went off the bullet, burying itself in the ceiling. They crashed to the floor together, Shadow snarling, the man thrashing. Go! Eleanor shoved Maya toward the back door. Go now. But Shadow. He can handle himself. Go. Maya ran. Her bare feet slapped against the cold floor. She hit the back door and burst out into the night. Cold air slammed into her. Darkness everywhere. She couldn't see anything, couldn't hear anything except the chaos behind her. Then hands grabbed her. Maya screamed and fought, kicking and scratching and biting like her father had taught her. But the hands were too strong. They lifted her off the ground like she weighed nothing. Stop fighting. A voice she didn't recognize. I'm here to help. Let me go. Maya, listen to me. My name is Captain Torres. I'm with your father's unit. I'm here to protect you. Maya froze. My father? Yes, Commander Brennan. He sent me. How do I know you're telling the truth? The man set her down but kept his hands on her shoulders. In the dim light, she could see his face. Hard, weathered, eyes that had seen too much. Your father has a picture of you in his vest pocket. You're wearing a yellow dress. There's a dog next to you. A German shepherd named Max. Maya's heart stopped. Max had been their first dog. He died when she was 4. Only family would know about that picture. He sent you. The moment he heard what was happening. He's on his way home, Maya. But he asked me to make sure you were safe until he gets here. Eleanor came running out of the house, Shadow at her heels. Blood was smeared across the dog's muzzle, but he seemed uninjured. Who are you? Eleanor demanded, stepping between the man and Maya. Captain Diego Torres, ma'am. SEAL Team 3. I served with your son in Afghanistan. Prove it. Torres reached into his pocket and pulled out a phone. He showed her the screen. A text message from a number Eleanor recognized. From Jake, Torres is coming. Trust him. I'm coming home. Tell Maya I love her. Tell her I'm proud. Eleanor's knees buckled. Torres caught her before she hit the ground. Easy, ma'am. Easy. We need to move. The officer's inside. My team is handling it. Right now, my priority is getting you and Maya to safety. More gunfire erupted from the house. Torres grabbed Eleanor's arm and started moving. This way. Stay low. Stay quiet. They ran through the trees, Shadow leading the way. Maya's feet were numb from the cold, her lungs burning, but she didn't slow down. Behind them, the sounds of battle faded. A helicopter appeared overhead, its spotlight sweeping the forest. That's our ride, Torres said. Keep moving. They reached a clearing where the helicopter was touching down. The rotor wash hit Maya like a wall, pushing her backward. Torres lifted her off her feet and ran. Seconds later, they were inside. The doors slammed shut. The helicopter lifted off. Maya pressed her face against the window and watched the safe house shrink below them. Flashing lights, running figures, chaos. Where are we going? She shouted over the rotor noise. Naval base, Torres shouted back. Most secure location in the state. You'll be safe there. What about the officers, Patterson? Torres's face flickered. They're holding their own. That's all I know. Maya leaned back against her seat. Shadow climbed up beside her. His body still tense, still ready to fight. Eleanor sat across from them, her face buried in her hands. He's coming home, Maya said to her grandmother. Dad's coming home. Eleanor looked up. Tears streaked her cheeks. I know, baby, I know. He sent Captain Torres. He knew we were in trouble. He always knows. Eleanor managed a weak smile. That's what he does. The helicopter flew through the darkness, carrying them away from danger toward something Maya desperately needed. Hope. The naval base was enormous. Maya had never seen so many soldiers in one place. They moved with purpose, everyone knowing exactly where they were supposed to be and what they were supposed to do. Torres led them to a building deep inside the compound. Armed guards stood at every door. Security cameras watched from every angle. "You'll stay here until Commander Brennan arrives," Torres said. "There's food beds, whatever you need." "When will he be here?" Maya asked. "Soon. His transport is already in the air." "How soon?" Torres checked his watch. 4 hours, maybe less. 4 hours. After everything that had happened, 4 hours felt like forever. They were given a suite of rooms with a small kitchen and living area. It felt more like a hotel than a military building, but Maya could see the reinforced windows, the steel doors, the subtle signs that this place was built to withstand attack. "Try to rest," Eleanor said, settling onto the couch. "It's been a long night." "I can't rest. Not until I see Dad." "Maya, I'm not tired. I need to see him. I need to know he's really coming." Eleanor sighed. She looked exhausted, older than Maya had ever seen her. "Come here," Eleanor said, patting the couch beside her. "Sit with me." Maya sat down. Shadow lay at their feet. For a long moment, they just sat there in silence. "Your mother would be so proud of you," Eleanor said finally. Maya felt her throat tighten. She rarely talked about her mother. It hurt too much. "You think so. I know so. She was brave, just like you." When your father was on his first deployment, she used to worry herself sick, but she never let it show. She'd smile and laugh and pretend everything was fine, even when she was falling apart inside. "I don't remember her very well. You were so young when she passed, but she loved you more than anything in the world. You and your father were her whole universe." Maya felt tears building behind her eyes. "Sometimes I forget what she looked like. I have to look at pictures to remember." Eleanor pulled her close. "That's okay, baby. That's what pictures are for." "Do you think she can see me from wherever she is? I think she's watching over you every single day. I think she guided Shadow to those officers. I think she's been protecting you this whole time." Maya wanted to believe that, needed to believe it. "I miss her," she whispered. "I know. I miss her too." They sat together in the quiet, holding on to each other. Shadow's steady breathing was the only sound. An hour passed. Then 2. Maya must have fallen asleep because suddenly Torres was shaking her shoulder. "Maya, wake up." She blinked, disoriented. "What is it?" "Your father's here." Maya was on her feet before she fully understood what he'd said. "What? Where?" "He landed 5 minutes ago. He's on his way up now." Eleanor stood up, her hands trembling. "He's really here?" "Yes, ma'am. He broke every record to get back, flew through 3 time zones, and nearly gave his commanding officer a heart attack." The door opened, and there he was. Jake Brennan stood in the doorway, still in his combat uniform, his face lined with exhaustion and fear and something else, something Maya recognized. Love. "Daddy!" She ran to him. He caught her and lifted her off the ground, holding her so tight she couldn't breathe. "Maya! Oh God, Maya!" His voice broke. He was crying. Her father, the Navy SEAL, the toughest man she knew, was crying. "You came back?" She sobbed into his shoulder. "You came back." "I'm sorry." He kept saying it over and over. "I'm sorry I wasn't here. I'm sorry you had to go through this alone." "I wasn't alone. Shadow was with me. And Grandma." Jake looked up at Eleanor, who was standing a few feet away, tears streaming down her face. "Mom." "Welcome home, son." He set Maya down and crossed the room to embrace his mother. Eleanor held on to him like she might never let go. "I should have been here," Jake said. "When the call came through, I nearly lost my mind. You're here now. That's what matters. They tried to kill you. They tried to kill my family. They failed." Eleanor pulled back and looked at him. "Because you raised a daughter who doesn't know how to give up. And because you left her with a dog who would die before letting anything happen to her." Jake looked down at Shadow, who was sitting at Maya's feet, watching him with those intelligent eyes. "Hey, buddy," Jake said softly. "I hear you've been busy." Shadow's tail wagged once. He stood up and walked to Jake, pressing his head against his leg. Jake knelt down and wrapped his arms around the dog. "Thank you," he whispered. "Thank you for protecting her." Shadow licked his face. Maya watched them together and felt something she hadn't felt in months. Completeness. Her family was together again. But it wasn't over yet. "Dad," she said, "the men who did this, they're still out there." Jake stood up, his expression hardening. "I know. Agent Collins said it was because of something you did, an operation against the Volkov organization. Yes. They want revenge. They're not going to get it." Jake's voice was steel. "I'm going to find every single one of them, and I'm going to end this, for good." "How?" Jake looked at Torres, who nodded once. "The man Shadow attacked at the safe house is talking," Torres said. "He gave up 3 locations where Volkov operatives are hiding. NCIS is coordinating raids as we speak." "That's not enough," Jake said. "Volkov himself is still out there. As long as he's alive, Maya will never be safe." "What are you saying?" "I'm saying I need to finish this myself." Eleanor stepped forward. "Jake, no. You just got home. You can't—" "Mom, listen to me. This organization put a price on my family's head. They tried to bury 2 innocent officers alive to send me a message. They sent men to kill my daughter. If I don't stop them, they'll keep coming, again and again until they succeed." "Then let the authorities handle it." "The authorities can't go where I need to go, can't do what I need to do." Jake turned to Maya. "Sweetheart, I need you to understand something. What I'm about to do, I'm doing for you, to keep you safe, to make sure no one ever threatens our family again." Maya looked at her father. She saw the determination in his eyes. The same determination she'd felt in the forest when she decided to keep following Shadow. "You're going after him," she said. "The man who ordered all this." "Yes." "Will you come back?" Jake knelt down so he was eye level with her. "I will always come back to you, always, no matter what. Do you understand? Promise me." "I promise." Maya threw her arms around his neck. "Then go, do what you have to do. But come back to me, Daddy. Come back to me." Jake held her for a long moment. Then he stood up, his face set with resolve. "Torres, get me everything we have on Volkov's current location." "Already done, sir. He's in a compound 50 miles from here. NCIS has had eyes on him for 12 hours. "Then let's move." Jake turned to leave. At the door he paused and looked back at Maya one last time. "I love you, sweetheart." "I love you too, Daddy." And then he was gone. Maya stood at the window watching him walk across the compound toward a waiting helicopter. Shadow stood beside her, his presence steady and reassuring. "Is he going to be okay?" she asked, not taking her eyes off her father's shrinking figure. Eleanor put her arm around her. "He's the best at what he does. If anyone can end this, it's him. But what if something goes wrong? Then we pray, and we trust, and we remember that Brennan's never quit." The helicopter lifted off, carrying Jake into the darkness. Maya pressed her hand against the glass. "Come back to me," she whispered. "Please come back to me." Somewhere out there, her father was flying toward danger, flying toward the men who had tried to destroy everything she loved. And all Maya could do was wait. The waiting was the hardest part. Maya sat on the couch, her knees pulled up to her chest, her eyes fixed on the door. Shadow lay beside her, his head on her lap, but even he couldn't settle. Every few minutes, his ears would twitch toward some sound only he could hear. Eleanor had tried to get her to sleep, tried to get her to eat. Maya refused both. "He's been gone for 6 hours," Maya said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Is that normal?" Eleanor sat down beside her. "Operations take time, sweetheart. Your father knows what he's doing." "But what if something went wrong? What if he's hurt? What if—" "Don't do that to yourself." Eleanor took her hand. "Don't imagine the worst. It doesn't help." "I can't help it," I know. I've spent 30 years waiting for men in this family to come home from dangerous places. Your grandfather, your father. It never gets easier. But you learn to have faith. Maya looked at her grandmother. How do you do it? How do you keep believing everything will be okay? Because the alternative is giving up, and Brennans don't give up. Eleanor squeezed her hand. Your father is the best at what he does. He's survived things that would have killed lesser men. He'll survive this too. Promise. Eleanor hesitated. Maya saw it. That tiny flicker of doubt. I can't promise, Eleanor admitted. But I can hope, and I can pray, and I can be here when he walks through that door. The hours crawled by. Torres checked in periodically, but he had no news. The operation was ongoing. Communications were dark. Maya must have dozed off at some point because suddenly she was being shaken awake. Maya, Torres's voice. Urgent. Maya, wake up. She sat up so fast her head spun. What is it? Is Dad okay? Torres's face was strange, tight, unreadable. The operation is over, he said. Maya's heart stopped. And Volkov is dead. The compound is secured. NCIS has arrested 17 operatives. But what about my dad? Maya grabbed Torres's arm. What about my dad? Torres took a breath. He's on his way back. Is he hurt? A pause. Too long. Torres. Maya was shouting now. Is my dad hurt? He took a bullet, Torres said quietly. Left shoulder. It's not life-threatening, but he's being transported to the medical facility here on base. Maya felt the room tilt. Eleanor made a sound beside her, something between a gasp and a sob. I need to see him, Maya said. Right now. Take me to him. Maya, he's in surgery. I don't care. Take me there, please. Torres looked at Eleanor, who nodded slowly. Let's go, Eleanor said. We need to be there when he wakes up. They rushed through the compound shadow at Maya's heels. The medical facility was on the other side of the base, and every second felt like an eternity. When they arrived, a doctor was waiting. Mrs. Brennan Maya. The doctor was a woman in her 50s, calm and professional. I'm Dr. Patel. Commander Brennan is out of surgery. Is he okay? Maya couldn't breathe. Please tell me he's okay. The bullet passed through cleanly. No major arteries were damaged. He lost some blood, but he's stable. Dr. Patel smiled gently. He's been asking for you. Both of you. Maya's legs nearly gave out. Eleanor caught her, holding her up. Can we see him? Follow me. They walked down a long hallway. Every step felt like a mile. Finally, Dr. Patel stopped in front of a door. He's tired and on pain medication, so he might be a little groggy, but he's been very insistent about seeing you. She opened the door. Jake Brennan lay in a hospital bed, his left shoulder heavily bandaged, his face pale and drawn. But his eyes were open. And when he saw Maya, he smiled. Hey, sweetheart. Maya burst into tears and ran to him. She wanted to throw herself into his arms, but she was afraid of hurting him, so she stopped at the edge of the bed, sobbing. It's okay, Jake said softly, reaching out with his good arm. Come here. I'm okay. She climbed onto the bed as carefully as she could and pressed herself against his uninjured side. Jake wrapped his arm around her and held on tight. You got shot, she said through her tears. You promised you'd come back. I did come back. But you got shot. It's just a scratch. Jake winced as he shifted position. Okay, maybe a little more than a scratch. But I'm here. I'm alive. And I'm not going anywhere. Eleanor approached the bed, her face wet with tears. Jake reached out to her too. Mom. You stupid, brave, stubborn man. Eleanor's voice cracked. You scared us half to death. I know. I'm sorry. Don't be sorry. Just don't do it again. I can't promise that. I know you can't. Eleanor leaned down and kissed his forehead. But let me pretend for a while. They stayed like that for a long time, the three of them together holding on to each other. Shadow had jumped onto the foot of the bed and was watching them with those intelligent eyes. "Hey, buddy," Jake said to the dog. "Heard you've been busy?" Shadow's tail wagged once. "Torres told me everything, about the forest, the officers, the safe house." Jake looked down at Maya. "You were so brave, sweetheart, braver than any soldier I've ever known." "I was scared the whole time. That's what bravery is, being scared and doing it anyway. That's what you always say." "Because it's true." Maya lifted her head to look at him. "Is it over? Really over?" Jake nodded slowly. "Volkov is dead. His organization is destroyed. The men who buried those officers are in custody. It's over. They can't hurt us anymore. No one is ever going to hurt you again, I promise. You already promised to come back and you got shot." Jake laughed, then winced. "Okay, fair point. How about this? I promise to always fight my way back to you, no matter what. Even if I have to crawl, even if I have to drag myself across continents, I will always come home to you." Maya looked into her father's eyes. She saw the truth there, the absolute unwavering commitment. "I believe you," she whispered. "Good." Jake kissed the top of her head. "Because it's the truest thing I've ever said." The next few days passed in a blur of doctors' debriefings and visitors. Agent Collins came by to thank Maya personally for her help with the investigation. The tire track information and her observations about Shadow's behavior had been crucial in cracking the case. "You've got a career in law enforcement if you want it," Collins said with a smile. "I'm 7, Maya reminded him. "Never too early to start thinking about the future." Patterson came to, his arm in a sling from a wound he'd received during the safe house attack. "You okay?" Maya asked him. "I'll live, thanks to you. If you hadn't gotten out when you did, things could have been a lot worse. Torres saved us. Torres got you to safety, but you're the one who kept your head. That's not nothing." Marcus Cole visited on the third day, walking slowly but steadily, his wife and daughters beside him. "I wanted you to meet them," he said, gesturing to the twin girls who were staring at Maya with wide eyes. "Girls, this is Maya. She's the one who saved Daddy's life." The twins looked at Maya like she was some kind of superhero. "You're small," one of them said. "Emma," Marcus scolded, but Maya laughed. "I am small, but my dog is big." Shadow, sitting beside her, wagged his tail. The other twin approached him cautiously. "Can I pet him?" "Sure, he's friendly." The girl reached out and touched Shadow's head. The dog sat perfectly still, letting her stroke his fur. "He's soft," the girl said. "He's the best dog in the world," Maya replied. Marcus knelt down in front of Maya, his eyes serious. "I meant what I said at the hospital. You saved our lives, mine and Sarah's. I don't know how to repay that." "You don't have to repay anything." "Yes, I do. So here's what I'm going to do. When you're old enough, if you ever want to become a police officer, I'll personally mentor you. I'll make sure you have every opportunity to succeed." "Deal." Maya thought about it. "Can Shadow come too?" Marcus grinned. "Shadow can definitely come too." "Then deal." They shook hands solemnly. Marcus's wife was crying. Eleanor was crying. Even Jake, watching from his hospital bed, looked suspiciously misty-eyed. Sarah Vance came the next day. She walked into Jake's room slowly, still weak, but determined. When she saw Maya, she stopped. "Hey," Sarah said softly. "Remember me?" "You're the lady who died twice." Sarah laughed, though it sounded like it hurt. "That's me, the lady who died twice." She crossed the room and sat down beside Maya. "I never got to thank you properly, for finding us, for staying with us, for calling for help." "Shadow found you." "Shadow found us. But you believed him. You followed him into that forest when anyone else would have turned back. That makes you just as much a hero." "Everyone keeps calling me that. I don't feel like a hero." "That's how you know you really are one." Sarah reached into her pocket and pulled out something small and silver. "I want you to have this." It was a badge. A police badge miniature, but real. "It's not official," Sarah said. "But it's mine. My first badge from when I graduated the academy. I want you to keep it." Maya held the badge carefully, like it was made of glass. "I can't take this." "You can. You earned it." Sarah closed Maya's fingers around it. "Someday when you're older, maybe you'll earn an official one. Until then, this one is yours." Maya looked at the badge, then at Sarah, then at her father watching from the bed. "Thank you," she whispered. "No," Sarah said. "Thank you." 1 week later, they went home. The house looked the same as always, but it felt different. Safer somehow, like the shadows had been chased away. Maya stood in the driveway looking at the tree line where everything had started. "You okay?" Jake asked, coming up beside her. His arm was still in a sling, but the color had returned to his face. "Yeah, I'm okay." Maya looked up at him. "Are you staying this time?" Jake took a deep breath. "I put in for a transfer. Stateside assignment, training new recruits." Maya's heart leaped. "Really? Really? I'm not saying I'll never deploy again, but for now, I want to be here. With you. With Mom. Where I belong." Maya threw her arms around him, careful of his shoulder. "I'm so happy." "Me too, sweetheart. Me too." Eleanor came out of the house, wiping her hands on a dish towel. "Dinner's almost ready. Come inside before it gets cold." They walked toward the house together, Shadow trotting alongside them. At the door, Maya paused. "Dad." "Yeah." "Can we get another dog? A friend for Shadow?" Jake looked down at the Belgian Malinois who was watching him with those knowing eyes. "I think Shadow's earned a friend." "What do you think, buddy?" Shadow barked once, approving. "Then it's settled. We'll go to the shelter this weekend." Maya grinned and ran inside, Shadow at her heels. Jake stood in the doorway for a moment, watching his daughter disappear into the warmth of the house. "You did good," Eleanor said, coming up beside him. "Raising her, even from far away, you did good." She raised herself. "I just gave her the tools." "Don't sell yourself short. She has your courage, your stubbornness, your heart." "She has her mother's eyes." Eleanor smiled sadly. "Yes, she does." They stood together in silence, remembering the woman they had both loved and lost. "She would be proud," Eleanor said finally. "Of both of you." "I hope so." "I know so." Jake took one last look at the tree line at the forest, where his daughter had become a hero. Then he stepped inside and closed the door. The ceremony was held 2 weeks later. The whole town came out. News crews from across the country set up cameras. The governor flew in personally. Maya stood on a stage in the town square, wearing her nicest dress, Shadow sitting beside her in a brand new harness. Jake and Eleanor sat in the front row, pride radiating from their faces. The governor stepped up to the microphone. "We are here today to honor extraordinary courage," she began. 2 weeks ago, 2 of our police officers were buried alive by criminals who thought they could silence justice. They were wrong, because a 7-year-old girl and her dog refused to give up. The crowd applauded. Maya felt her face flush. Maya Brennan followed her dog into a blizzard, into danger, into the unknown. She didn't run when she found those officers. She stayed. She called for help. She kept them alive until rescue arrived. And in doing so, she not only saved 2 lives, but helped expose and dismantle a criminal organization that had threatened our community for years. More applause. Maya looked at her father, who was smiling so wide it looked like his face might split. "Maya, please step forward." She walked to the center of the stage, Shadow at her side. The governor held up a medal. It was gold and silver with an eagle on the front. "On behalf of the state and the people of this community, I present you with the Medal of Valor for Civilian Heroism. This is the highest honor our state can bestow upon a civilian, and you have earned it in every way." She pinned the medal to Maya's dress. The crowd erupted in cheers. Then she turned to Shadow. "And for this remarkable dog who used his training and instincts to find two officers that no one else could have found, I present the K9 Medal of Valor." She clipped the medal to Shadow's harness. The dog sat perfectly still, dignified as always. "Shadow isn't just a hero," the governor continued. "He's a reminder that heroism comes in many forms. Sometimes it wears a uniform, sometimes it walks on four legs, and sometimes it's a little girl in a pink coat who refused to leave anyone behind." The applause was deafening now. People were on their feet. Maya saw Marcus and Sarah in the crowd clapping wildly. She saw Patterson, his arm finally out of the sling. She saw Torres standing at attention, and she saw her father, tears streaming down his face, mouthing 3 words. "I love you." Maya smiled and mouthed them back. The governor handed her the microphone. "Would you like to say a few words?" Maya's heart pounded. She hadn't prepared anything. She didn't know what to say. But then she looked at Shadow, at her father, at her grandmother, at all the people who had helped her, supported her, believed in her. She stepped up to the microphone. "I'm not really good at speeches," she began. "I'm only 7, but I want to say something." The crowd went quiet. "My dad is a Navy SEAL. He fights bad guys all over the world. He's the bravest person I know. But he told me once that brave doesn't mean you're not scared. It means you do the right thing, even when you are scared." She took a shaky breath. "When Shadow ran into the forest, I was scared. When I found the officers buried in the snow, I was terrified. When the bad men came to hurt us, I wanted to hide and never come out. But I kept going, because that's what my dad taught me. That's what my mom would have wanted, and that's what Shadow showed me." She reached down and put her hand on the dog's head. "Shadow is the real hero. He knew those officers were there when no one else did. He dug them out when I didn't even understand what was happening. He protected me when the bad men came. He's my best friend, and I couldn't have done any of this without him." Shadow looked up at her and wagged his tail. "I don't know if I'm a hero," Maya continued. "I'm just a kid who followed her dog. But I learned something important. Heroes aren't just soldiers or police officers or firefighters. Heroes are anyone who sees someone in trouble and decides to help. Anyone who chooses courage over fear. Anyone who refuses to give up." She looked directly at her father. "My dad is coming home. He's going to be here with me now, and I'm so happy. But I know that he might have to leave again someday to help other people, to protect other families. And when he does, I'll be brave, because that's what Brennans do." She stepped back from the microphone. The crowd was silent for a single heartbeat. Then the applause exploded. It seemed to go on forever. People were crying. People were cheering. People were hugging each other. Jake made his way to the stage and wrapped his good arm around Maya. "I am so proud of you," he said into her ear. "So incredibly proud. I meant what I said, about being brave when you leave. I know you did. And that's why I'm never going to worry about you. Because I know you can handle anything. Even buried officers and bad guys." "Even buried officers and bad guys," Jake laughed. "Though I'm hoping we can go back to normal problems for a while, like homework and cleaning your room." "That sounds boring." "Boring sounds wonderful right about now." They walked off the stage together, Shadow between them. Eleanor waiting with open arms. The cameras flashed. The crowd cheered. The sun broke through the clouds. And Maya Brennan, 7 years old, daughter of a Navy SEAL best friend to a hero dog, walked into her future without fear. 3 months later, on a quiet Sunday morning, Maya sat on the porch with Shadow, watching a new puppy tumble across the yard. They had named her Hope, a German Shepherd mix from the local shelter with oversized paws and floppy ears and boundless energy. Shadow watched the puppy with patient tolerance, occasionally nudging her back on track when she wandered too far. "He's going to be a good teacher," Jake said, coming out with 2 cups of hot chocolate. He handed one to Maya. "Just like you," Maya said. "I had a good teacher myself." Jake sat down beside her. "My dad, your grandmother, the men I served with. We all learned from someone. I learned from you, and from Shadow, and from Mom. Jake's eyes softened. Yeah, you did. They sat in comfortable silence, watching Hope chase her own tail in circles. Dad, Maya said after a while. Yeah. Do you think I'll ever have to be that brave again? Jake considered the question carefully. I hope not, he said finally. I hope you live a long, peaceful, boring life where the scariest thing you face is a math test. But if you ever do have to be brave again, I know you will be. Because you're a Brennan. And Brennans don't quit. Maya smiled and leaned against her father's shoulder. Brennans don't quit, she repeated. Shadow rested his head on her lap. Hope came bounding over and tried to climb onto all of them at once. Eleanor appeared at the door laughing at the chaos. And in that moment, surrounded by family, Maya understood something she would carry with her for the rest of her life. Heroes aren't born in moments of glory. They're made in moments of choice. When you see someone who needs help and you decide to help them. When you're scared and you move forward anyway. When you refuse to leave anyone behind. She had been a hero once. She might have to be one again. But for now, she was just a girl with a dog and a family and a future full of possibility. And that was more than enough. The story of Maya Brennan and Shadow spread far beyond their small town. It was told in schools and police academies, in military bases and community centers. It became a reminder that courage has no age limit, and that sometimes the smallest voice makes the biggest difference. But Maya didn't think about any of that. She just kept living her life, going to school, playing with Hope, training with Shadow, spending every possible moment with her father making up for lost time. And every night before she went to sleep, she looked at the photograph on her nightstand. Her mother smiling, holding a baby Maya in her arms. I did it, Mom, she whispered. I was brave. And somewhere, somehow, she knew her mother heard her. Because love doesn't end. It just changes form. And courage, once found, never truly goes away. It lives in the heart of a little girl who followed her dog into a blizzard. It lives in the loyalty of a military dog who refused to give up. It lives in every person who sees darkness and chooses to be light. This is the story of Maya Brennan and Shadow. But really, it's the story of all of us. Because we all have the capacity for courage. We all have the power to save a life. We just have to be brave enough to try. If this story moved you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe for more stories of courage and hope. And remember, heroes don't always wear capes or carry badges. Sometimes they're 7 years old. Sometimes they walk on 4 legs. And sometimes they're you. The smallest voice can make the biggest difference. All you have to do is speak.